SCP-114 Object Class Euclid Special Containment Procedure SCP-114 is kept in a 10-meter cube, standard concrete humanoid containment cell at Site-17. The cell is positioned in the bottom of the 40-meter shaft to prevent staff members from coming into the proximity of SCP-114. The cell is accessible by the staircase, restricted in emergency use only. Daily rations are provided to SCP-114 3 times a day by means of a dumbwaiter. SCP-114 is also permitted to subject written requests to attending staff by the same means. To date, SCP-114 has been granted 1 Quran, Arabic, 1 Pararug, and 1 Black Journal with pens. Research on SCP-114 is suspended until further notice. Elimination of SCP-114 is acceptable in the event of a multiple containment breach crisis. Description: SCP-114 is a Pashtun woman of Afghani origin, approximately 40 years old and 160 centimeters tall. SCP-114 has the involuntary effect of fostering and escalating violence conflict between all individuals in her proximity. Subjects within 10 to 15 meters of SCP-115 become inconsolable, aggressive at trivialities or points of little consequence, often to the degree of projecting hostile motives on others. Arguments generally arise between individuals after 1 or 3 minutes of exposure to SCP-114. The resulting arguments turn to violence in all cases. Notably, persons affected by the presence of SCP-114 will never exhibit hostility towards SCP-114 or attempt to inflict harm upon it. Subjects ordered to deliberate injure SCP-114 find themselves unable to do so. For relevant information, see Experiment Log 114-A. Experiment Log 114-A. Experiments were performed between redacted date and redacted. SCP-114 was placed in a test room with distancing protocols similar to a containment cell. Sending researchers observed through remote electronic means. Experiment 114-A1. Experiment 114-A-1. Procedure. Subjects D-1269 and D-8543 were placed in a test room with SCP-114. No instructions were given. Results. Subjects did not attempt to interact with SCP-114. After 75 minutes of exposure, D-8543 verbally requested a cigarette from D-1269. D-1269 responded with negative. D-8543 proceeded to shove D-1269 against the wall in the test room. Subjects began fighting and apparently intent to kill. Subjects ignored verbal entreaties to cease. Subjects terminated throughout the experiment. SCP-114 watched the progressing but was visibly unmoved. Experiment 114-A-2. Procedure subjects D-5410 and D-5699 were placed in a test room with SCP-114. A plastic screen was placed across the length of the test room so that subjects were unaware of the presence of SCP-114. Results. Favorable to Experiment 114-A-1. Subjects terminated. Experiment 114-A3. Procedure. Subject D-1002 was given a carving knife, stainless steel, 15 centimeters. Subject was placed in a test room with SCP-114 with orders to kill her. Results. D-1002 immediately rushed at SCP-114. SCP-114 recoiled, screaming. D-1002 stopped abruptly at approximately half a meter from SCP-114 and dropped the knife. D-1002 stood still for 4 minutes, growing visibly agitated. At 5 minutes, D-1002 began yelling incomprehensibly and moving around the room in an unnatural, ape-like fashion. After 8 minutes, D-1002 began banging on the walls with the head and fist. Subject was rendered unconscious. Subject terminated. Experiment 114-A-4. Procedure. Subject D-4343 was placed in a test room with SCP-114 with orders to remain still. After 4 minutes, subject was forcibly moved from the room by robotic means. Results. Subject showed signs of aggression and agitation comparable to the experiment 114-A-3. Heartbeat was recorded at 2010 beats per minute. Blood tests revealed levels of cortisone and adrenaline impossible without the application of drugs. Subject returned to a normal physical and mental state after approximately 15 hours. Experiment 114-A-4. Procedure. Subject D-7258, a native Afghan, was administered a dualate mixture of mild sedatives and antidepressants and tetrahydrocannabinol, alpha blockers and beta blockers intravenously. Subject was placed in the room with SCP-114, ordered to attempt a normal conversation. Results. D-7258 addressed SCP-114. SCP-114 maintained eye contact with D-7258, but did not respond. After 45 seconds, D-7258 began shivering and shouting. At 1.5 minutes after exposure, D-7258 fell to the floor in convulsions. Subject expired. After 3 minutes, autopsy of the cadaver revealed massive cerebral hemorrhage. Communication with SCP-114 has only been possible through written notes or electronic means. Researchers begin to glean that the SCP-114 is unaware of her effect on other people. She shows little to no response to exposure or violence and seems to be under the impression that human beings are naturally aggressively hostile to each other. SCP-114 is consistently unresponsive and cooperative with researchers, and appears to be acutely aware of human interaction. Due to the difficulty of communication with 114, psychological evaluations have been speculative at best. Rudimentary assessments strongly suggest psychological trauma, combat stress reaction, and compassion fatigue had been tentatively proposed. Document 114A 89812. Abridged eyewitness reported from redacted, a former soldier in the 40th Red Army. Interviewed March 23, 1991. Translated and transcribed by redacted. We took redacted on February the 1st, 1980. It was a shit little village, but the Mojahedin put up a damn good fight. 8 of our men killed, 15 wounded, 1 tank destroyed. It was dead cold too. You think the Middle East is warm, but you go in the mountains in February, it's not so. Anyway, we were mopping up the area, going through the huts, looking for weapon caches and the like. It seemed like every doorstep had some babushka weeping or tearing at her hair and clutching her knees. But on the end of the street was one big hut, no babushka in sight. Only were there trays of food left out, like an offering before the door. Redacted paused for several seconds. The 6 of us go into the search. It was big and empty inside, dusty and partially bare. It didn't look like anyone had been there a long time, but soon we heard the soft, whimpering though and look. Over in the corner is a little girl, 8 or 9, curled up in a ball and alone. What the big softy. Goes over, he bends down, puts out his hands, and says, "Come on, little one. It's okay. We won't hurt you." The girl won't budge. Then Peter stands up all stiffly and looks at us funny. Constantine walks over and puts his hand on his shoulder, tells him to leave the girl alone, laughing good-natured. Peter gets all red-faced, like he's at a full bottle, and shouts, "Get your damn hands off me, my shoulder," or something likes. It's like a wild animal. We're all in surprise, salute. Down on the ground, he's bashing Constantine's face and the butt of his rifle squirt. It took 3 of us to pull him off, and then Constantine was dead.